Welcome to the first session of EdTech Dialect. We're going to take this session and use it as a refresher. It's easy, especially after the last couple of years, to kind of get way ahead as far as the technology goes and not look back, but it's easy to overlook things. We have new users that have come aboard, and so I figured we'd kick this off with a little session on all of the basic items. And so when I say that, we're going to be focused on mainly Canvas and Teams and some ways that you can streamline your use of the technology to help your students and also help yourself. So if you have any questions at any point, obviously, for those of you that are in the room, it's easy for you to just ask. For those of you that are virtual, obviously, you can chime in and ask a question whenever you want. You're not interrupting. You can also use the chat. That's a great way to get a back channel conversation going. Past sessions have really taken use of that. And it's also nice, too, if you have questions there that we can follow up on. I really enjoy getting back to that and replying to different items and seeing the conversation there. So even for those of you that are in the room, feel free if you want to hop on the meeting. Just make sure, obviously, that you mute your microphone and your speakers so we don't get that awesome echo that all of you are probably somewhat familiar with, unfortunately. So I'm gonna jump right into it. And the first thing that I want to hit on is Canvas. And just know that for some of you, this may seem very basic. They may seem like kind of old news, but maybe you'll pick up something that you forgot along the way, that you had been overlooking, that you knew about, and now you can start putting it to use, because maybe before you weren't an expert in the area of instructional technology, and now you are, and you've just been missing some things that could really kind of boost what you do. So let's dive in. Okay, and the first thing I want to do is talk about some of the global items within Canvas. The first one being your profile. It's very important that you have an established presence in Canvas and a profile. One of the first things that your students are going to do, and oftentimes maybe you as an instructor are going to do, is come into that class and see who else is in that class with you. Okay, you go and you check that people area of that Canvas course and see who's taken that course. And a profile is going to help you, is going to help your students to establish connections within that course. Who likes to fish? Who likes to hunt? Who likes to farm? Who works here? You know, and all those things that make you a human outside of your biology class or your math class or whatever it is that you're taking, that can help to form connections. It really helps the students because in the long run, they're going to have somebody that they might end up getting to know better because of something as simple as filling out that profile. And to do that is very simple. When you're in Canvas, after you go to the My Apps area, you click on the Canvas tile. And when you're in Canvas, you just go up to the account area, and you'll see your profile is right here. And from there, you can obviously click to edit your photo. Definitely recommend that you have some sort of profile photo that helps to identify you. And you can edit it from these menu dots over here. You simply click on edit. And just like that, you can have your profile set up. That photo of me is not a real photo. It is photoshopped. I actually took that in a mire when I was trying on different hats, and I put the horses in the background on my own. So you can have some fun with that as well. While we're here, another thing that you should make yourself aware of if you're not already, but your students as well as notifications. And as a Canvas user, you get to decide how you're notified. And there's a lot of things to be notified on in Canvas, and 4 different ways that you can be notified. You can be notified right away. You can be notified by a daily summary via email. You can also be notified by a weekly summary via email. And you can choose to just shut the notification off for that once and for all. And you can go line by line. If you're not sure what something is, just hold your mouse over it, and it'll tell you what it is. Okay? So make sure your students are aware of this as well. Canvas does a pretty good job of setting the default for notifications based on how most users set their notifications. So that is helpful as well. So setting your profile, making sure that your notifications are good to go. One of the biggest things that we hear about are students aren't getting a notification, like an announcement or an inbox message or something like that. If that's the case, obviously, you can let them know that they need to check their notifications and how their settings are. But you can also send them to the service desk because it might be something that we can help them with as well. Speaking of getting inbox messages and notifications, it is important that students are aware, and you're aware, that you can message right within Canvas. And obviously that is right here on the global navigation. The one thing that I do want to point out with that is you're going to have access to all of your different students and your different courses within Canvas in the inbox area, but your course has to be published in order for that to happen. Okay, you're not going to have access to message your students until that is published. So be aware of that. I just realized that there's one other thing that I need to do here, and I need to sign into a student account. So bear with me quickly while I do that, because I have to show you some things as we go from that perspective as well. So this is, we'll call this intermission. It should only take a minute. I just realized that I think I reset that password. Go. All right. I'm going to have to use this account to show you some perspective as I cruise through some things, so I figured I'd get it going now. All right, so that's the student side of things right there. So yeah, you're using the inbox as a communication method. Now, the nice thing about the inbox is it will forward to your Outlook email. So if a student emails you in Canvas, or if you email a student in Canvas, it's going to go to your Outlook email as well. You can respond to it from the Canvas inbox or also from your Outlook email. But here's the thing that you need to know: if you're trying to send a file back to them, like an attachment via Outlook, it won't send. Okay? You can only send attachments back to the student if it's a Canvas message in Canvas. Okay? You can't reply with an attachment in Outlook and have it go back through Canvas into the student's inbox. So that's something definitely to be aware of. It doesn't happen a lot, but from time to time. Canvas Studio is a big one, and I encourage you to encourage your students to use Studio. I encourage you as an instructor, or however you are using Canvas, to use Studio. I was just in a class this morning, a dual enrollment class, and they had some issues sharing video because they were recording the video on a Chromebook, and then when they went to share, based on the security of the computer, it wouldn't allow the other users to see what they were sharing. Studio will get you through that. Okay, and Studio is very easy to use. It's located right within that Canvas global navigation. There's a Studio area. Students and instructors and any user type that has access to Studio can put Studio to use. These videos stored right here are for me and only me as that user to see. I can share them with anybody at any time directly from here by clicking on the menu dots.
But you can only share with MCC people.
Well, you can also share publicly via a link right here, and it should be able to allow you to share it publicly as well. I will follow up on that, though. Have you not had success with that?
It wasn't this year, but it was last year where I was teaching in Greenville, and for some reason they couldn't get my Studio videos.
Really?
I had to put them on YouTube finally, and then they had to override their system to allow the students to get to them.
And sometimes...
I don't remember all the exact issues, but I wondered if that changed.
When you're in a dual enrollment location, sometimes that can be difficult based on what the filter settings are for that different district. That's kind of some things that we run into as well. As Michelle brings up a good point in talking about the share settings, but one thing that I would recommend that you do, Studio allows you to bring in videos from YouTube or Vimeo. I encourage you to bring, maybe when you're creating videos, to put them on YouTube, and then you can bring them into your Studio area very easily. And you're like, well, why would I bring them into Studio if I already have them on YouTube? It just makes it a lot easier for you to share these videos within your courses into one spot rather than having to go out to YouTube and find them each time. In addition to that, Studio has insights available, so you can see who is watching your videos and how much of your videos they're watching. I'm not going to get into what that looks like and how you get to that. It's very easy to get to that when you post it to a course, but it's very helpful not only to try and bust students and say like, you're not watching my videos that I posted for you to watch, but also maybe you're teaching a math class and you're noticing in the middle of the video at a certain concept, the students are going back and watching that certain concept a lot, meaning they're not grasping it or they're having to put a lot of extra effort into it. And that's going to help you to kind of guide your instruction in terms of what you're going to focus on here in class and what you're having the students work on. So that's another great way to use insights. Yeah, Don.
I used it, well, not the insights part, but I used the commentary part in Studio. I have my students make an oral presentation via Studio, and then I have the other students comment on that in the comments. So both the people that are making the presentation can respond to it, and I can see them.
So Don brings up a great point right here in how he uses Studio, in that he has his students create Studio video and also give it as kind of a pure response piece to it as well. And Studio is also available on the Canvas mobile app, teacher app, and student app. And so students can actually, if you need to have them record themselves doing something, they can record it right from their camera video, their phone video camera, and save it to there. And then when they're ready to upload it, they can just do it via the mobile app. And if they want to share it using a computer, they will just go right into their studio area and everything will be there. Don also brought up the commenting feature. So Canvas Studio has an inline commenting feature. So you can actually create a video as a prompt for a discussion, have that discussion happen right within Studio. They can comment and reply to comments right within the flow of the video. In addition to that, you can embed quiz questions in a Studio video, and those quiz question responses, if you choose, will flow into your Canvas gradebook. So lots of utility in Studio. I probably should do a whole session again just on Studio as a kind of refresher, just because some updates have happened. But yeah, like I said, we could spend a lot of time on it, and it's very useful, and have your students put it to use.
Is there a Studio tutorial in the instructor course?
Yes, I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is. And Leslie just asked me as I was on my walk over here about Studio resources and how we can put those to use for students too. So I will be following up on that and look for more information. And this is probably the biggest one right here that you can help your students with, or whoever you come into, any MCC user you come into contact with, is this help menu here. Okay, because this help menu not only has Canvas help options, but it also has information on contacting the MCC service desk and how to contact the MCC service desk. Your students, especially if they're dual enrollment students, need this information thrown at them constantly, okay? Whether they're getting locked out of their account or they just don't know how to do something or they think there's a glitch going on, having support hotlines like the Canvas support or the MCC service desk, or I should say, can be very helpful to them in getting the support that they need so that they can do what they need to do in your class. So make sure that they're aware of the help menu right here within Canvas that can get them to the support that they need. All right. In addition to that, and you can see that there's an all of the above here, the Canvas mobile app is a big time app for your students to have. If they don't have it, make sure that they have it. No matter what capacity you're working with your students on, whether you're tutoring them, whether you're a conductor with them, whether you're an instructor with them, make sure that they're getting the Canvas mobile app. It's great for communication, staying on top of their grades, even submitting work and participating in discussions. Just make sure that they get the right app. There's 3 different apps. There's a teacher app, a parent app, and a student app. Obviously, you know which one they need, but sometimes they just might see it and download it and think that they have the right one, but there's 3 different ones. And it's available for both iOS and Android. So when we get into specific courses, I'm going to kind of walk you through some different items that are going to be very helpful, some tools that are available that are going to be very helpful for you and your students. And the first one is modules. And I know that might be kind of jumping ahead of everything right now, but I think it's so important that we set up our courses for our students in a module format. What that means, if I can get to my actual, let me see here, where did it, there it is. There we go. What that means is if we go into a test course here via the dashboard, and I go into one of my courses, you can see that this is the module setup right here. Now I have modules set as my home page, And you can set a lot of different options for your course homepage, okay? I normally go with modules. Now, some of you have like a pages front page, that's kind of a jump page that the students come into. We'll talk about that here in a second, but I have it set to modules. If you don't have it set to modules, it's not a big deal, even though I recommend it. You can find a link to the modules within your course navigation here. So when you click on that, it takes you to your modules. Modules is great because you can set up your course content and how you deliver your content by week, by chapter, by unit. So your students can come in and say, this is what we're doing this week. This is what we're doing today. And they have an idea of how the content is going to flow their way. All right. Modules also make it very easy for you to take and adjust and move items around. So if you don't get to something during a current week, you can take that item and move it to the next week by clicking and dragging on these little menu dots right here on the left. If for some reason you need to adjust your modules, you can do the same with an entire module by clicking it and moving it around. If you move over here to the upper right, there's menu dots, and you can also move your module and your module contents via these little options here as well. So it makes it very easy once your items are in place to just kind of take those moving pieces and move them all over the place based on what you need to do. In addition to that, there are individual settings for each module as well. So you can see I have a requirement here that a student's going to complete all the items in the module. I can do that just by going to edit, and you can see that I can set different requirements for the module. If you want to get all your content ready and then lock a module, you can do that as well. So maybe you have class once a week, you go in there and you get all your content ready and you say, I want this module to unlock, like, let's see, we have a Thursday class starts at noon. I want my module to unlock at, turn the number lock on, 11:50 a.m. Okay. And just like that, we can update it and it will be set to lock. Okay. The menu dots for the module heading, if you go to edit, you can lock until with the checkbox right there. In addition to that, you can make items required within the module. Okay, so maybe you have some resources in there, but there's some things that you need students to do before they move on to the next module. You can require items. Now, this is where I think it's kind of cool. I want to go down to a different one. Let's say it's this EdTech Dialect content page here, and I want to make sure that they look at it. I want to make sure they open it. So what I'll do is I'm going to add a requirement to it. So I'll click on those menu dots. I'll click on edit. And I'm going to set a requirement for, let's see here, it's the EdTech Dialect resource. And I got a choice between making them view the item, but there's also an option for them to mark it as done, which I like. Okay. So not only do they need to open it, they need to check on a box to say that they got in there and they did something. So I update that. Okay. Go ahead and hit continue. And so now, if I go over to my test user, where is it? There we go. And I'm going to go into that course. And Amy, I see your question. I'll get to it 1 second. So if I go to that course as a test user, I'm going to see it. Okay. And I can go through and scroll through and do it. And you're going to see now there's this little mark as done button on it. This doesn't guarantee anything. Okay, this doesn't guarantee that your students are actually going to do it, but it means that there's something they're going to have to do in here. And when they click on it, it says marked as done. So now when they go back here, we should see a checkbox next to it that verifies to us as the instructor and to the student to let them know that they completed it. Okay, like I said, no guarantees on that, but that's just another thing that you can add in there to kind of make sure that students are at least visiting and scrolling through the page. Now, Amy asked, let me go to the chat quick, how do you set complete all items? And to do that, you just go to the edit again, and you're going to choose, well, actually, I had it set to complete all these requirements. If I wanted to just do one, then I click on that box. So I was a little confusing in my wording there. If you want them to do all of the items, meaning click through all the different items, you just do this one. If there's specific items that you want them to complete, and I can do more than one, okay, I can add different items, and you can see how it's separated based on the type and what I want them to do. We can do that. Okay, and then if ever you want to get rid of them, you just X out of there and update it, and you're good to go. So modules, like I said, very easy way for you to organize your content. If you're brand new, I would work on just getting in here, okay? And I'm in the wrong account quick. Let me bounce over to my student account or my teacher account. To create a new module, it's just this yellow button up here, new module, okay? When it creates it, it's gonna add it at the very bottom. So you have two options here. You can either leave it there, you can take it and you can scroll it up to the top, or you can go to these menu dots and say move module, and you can say I want it to go at the top or wherever you want it to go. And it will bounce it right up to the top there, and you can start adding your content. Now, you need to think of modules like a storefront, okay? When you go to the grocery store, everything's out on the shelves, okay? Your storage bins are your assignments area, your pages area, your quizzes area, your discussions area. And those can be found right here on this sidebar. The nice thing about this is you'll notice that the students can't see this. So if I go to student view real quick, you're gonna see that they can't see assignments and quizzes and stuff like that. And that's a good thing because you're bringing out those things from storage and putting them out here in the modules as like the storefront. It kind of helps to declutter your course. They have less things to choose from versus what you saw here where they have so many things. It can kind of be overwhelming, okay? You're just bringing them out exactly what they need. Also, if students have access to like the assignments area and stuff like that, they're gonna end up clicking on things and going to, so I'll take you to the assignments area. There's so many different things in here and they might not know what they need to click on week to week. You roll out a week one module that has the assignments that they need to do for the week, the discussions, any resources, and it makes it a lot easier for them to know what it is that they're doing for that week. As far as the assignments area goes, since we're here, there are some things that you can set up in the assignments area like weighting and assignment groups and stuff like that. You can also obviously create your assignments from here by clicking on the plus assignment, okay? As far as groups go, if you want to organize them in groups, maybe you want to weight your assignments based on your different groups. Very easy to do. You can establish your group with the plus group, and then just like with modules, we can drag those things where they need to go. Once you have your groups all set up, just like the modules before, you can click on edit, and you can actually go through here and start weighting your groups, okay? You can also choose if you want to drop scores. So maybe you want to drop the lowest score from an assignment group, you can choose to have that done. So when all is said and done and the students submit all their work, Canvas will automatically deduct the lowest score. If there's a particular assignment that you don't want to drop, you can have that set here as well. And the same can be said about with highest scores. You can have them drop the highest score as well. As far as actually weighting, if you click up here in the very upper right menu dots, you can see the assignment group weight, and you can see all your different groups that you've established here, and you can set up the weighting for it. Okay, so for those of you that are interested in weighting assignments based on type, this is where you'll do it. You'll set up your groups, you'll put your assignments in your groups, and then you'll click on weighting and weight them. In addition to that, for those of you that need to change assignment dates but don't want to go into each assignment individually, you can actually see all your different assignment due dates and available dates right from here in the assignments page and update them right from this window or add them right from this window. So it makes it very easy for you to get to the different due dates and make a change there. Since we're talking about these little storage bin areas, assignments and pages and discussions and quizzes, I'm going to bump over the pages one as well. Now, one thing that can be confusing for a new Canvas user is when you go to the pages area, if you have a home page set up, it will take you to that designated home page. And you're like, well, where are all my pages? In the upper left-hand corner, there's a view all pages, and that will take you to where all your pages are. Now, pages are basically for resources. If you want to add your own little typed out resource, whether it be embedded videos, text, images, links, charts, files, those can all be built using a content page. Content pages also allow you to take kind of a wiki standpoint and invite other users to edit them. So if you're doing like OER and having students contribute to your resources in your courses, students can actually do just that and type on a wiki on a resource page. So if I go to generate a new page, click on plus page, and we'll just say example for ETD. And down here, I can allow teachers and students, or just anyone, to edit this page. Another nice thing is if you have this as a resource, you can put this resource on the student to-do list. So you know a lot of students are using that to-do list on their Canvas dashboard. You can make a page show up on it. And you can also put a due date for when you want them to read it by. Okay? So once you're done with that, you save it and publish it, and boom, there it is. Obviously, there's no content there, but now that will show up as due on a specific due date, and we can come back here, hit edit, and add any content that we wanted to add to that page. At any point, we can go to our module area, and we can bring that new page into our modules. Example for ETD, add item, and it will add it down at the bottom. There it is. And now our students can easily access it right from our storefront shelves. Heather asked, does adding pages to the to-do list work for blueprints? That's a good question. I haven't tried that yet. I would imagine if it's just to do, then it will. I don't know. I would imagine with a due date as well, so I don't see why it wouldn't. So yeah, I mean, it's a setting just like any assignment setting would be if you had assignment settings in your blueprint course as well. I want to do, since we're talking about this, I do want to add with it when it comes to quizzes, there are two different quiz types. If you're new to Canvas, you might as well start using the new quiz type. There's no sense in getting acclimated to the old one, just because they will be phasing that out. Now, I realize that they have been pushing the due date for that back. But the new quiz type is pretty close to where the old one is. It just looks a little different and acts a little different. And there's additional question types for you to pick from. But you can see my quiz area here has a collection of new quizzes, which is indicated by the green icon, and old quizzes, which is indicated by the white or non-filled in icon. To create a new quiz, just click on the plus quiz. It's going to ask you what type of quiz type you would like to create. Like I said, you want to probably go new quizzes. I'm not going to get into the ins and outs of quizzes because I have a third session on this coming up in November that's going to dive into everything new quizzes. So hopefully you can come hang out with me for that. But quizzes, just like discussions, assignments, and pages, can easily be added to a module by clicking on that plus sign, just like we saw before. Dropping that drop down, you see a quiz, and then it'll show all your available quizzes that are there for you. So it makes it very easy for you to add a quiz. One thing that I would recommend is before you're ready to launch this for your students, to click on Student View and view your course as your student. I can't tell you how many times I've done this and been like, oh, I didn't publish anything, or I need to publish something. And that will help you to identify what your students need to see. Speaking of publishing, actually, before I speak of publishing, when you do go into View as Student, it will put a test user into your course. So be aware of that, okay? It's not really a big deal. It doesn't hurt anything or influence anything. It just is something that is there. So be aware of that. But speaking of publishing, there's 3 levels of publishing in Canvas. You have individual content items, which you can see these little plus or checks and X outs. If you check on it, it publishes it. If the item is in a module, you can make sure students don't see it still by making sure the module isn't published. When you're ready for students to see something, you just publish the module, and it'll be ready for your students to consume. The last thing you're going to do, and I don't have the option here because this is an older course, is you're going to publish the course. Okay, and that goes back to what I was talking about earlier about, it gives students access to your course, meaning it will show up on their dashboard. If your course isn't published, they're not going to see it on their student dashboard, and they're probably going to be like, where's my course? I don't know. Am I enrolled in it? I'm not seeing it. Because some instructors will publish their courses earlier than others. So that's something to be aware of as well. From here, you can also choose your home page, as I said. You can make a page, a content page, the home page if you want, or any of these items. I recommend just using course modules if you don't have a specific content page in mind, okay? Let's see here. I mentioned the to-do list. You see it as an instructor for things you got to grade. Students will see it for things that are due over here, and that can be very helpful to all involved. Head back to the PowerPoint. Let's see where I got, where I didn't get, and make sure I don't miss anything. Mention the 3 levels of publishing and viewing as a student. Make sure that you're aware of that. Please encourage your students to save their MCC files using OneDrive. If you don't already, I know that a lot of our students come our way using Google Drive and storing their files that way, and they're comfortable with it. The fact of the matter is, if they can leave here knowing Google Drive and OneDrive, that puts them in a better position to succeed, whether they're going on to another school or on the workforce, because they're likely going to run into Microsoft. So if we can acclimate them with it here, that's a win. In addition to that, it does integrate in Canvas, so students will have access to all of their OneDrive files right here within Canvas without having to leave it. They also have that added layer of security with multi-factor, but we can recover files too if they accidentally delete them, and that's a big one right there. If they're storing them in Google Drive and delete it, they're gone. But we can help to get them back if they are in their OneDrive. And this is a big one here is your course settings. There's a couple things I want to point out here. The first one is, so if we go to a course and we go to the settings, I mentioned streamlining that course navigation. So anything with an I crossed out here, students aren't going to see. You as an instructor will see. And that can be done from the navigation area. Anything that's in this group right here, students are going to have access to. Anything that's down below here, you will likely as an instructor have access to, but students won't. So I get rid of anything I possibly can that I don't think that students are going to put to use. So we'll go like that. Let's see. I'm not going to use Lockdown Browser. And since I have the homepage set to modules, I can get rid of modules as well. So if I save this, and then we go to the student side of things, and I refresh this, you're going to see that it's going to shrink even more. So that's so much cleaner and so much easier for students to navigate through your course and see what they need to see. All right, plugging along. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on the grade book, but I just want to point out a few things because obviously entering grades and giving feedback is pretty important. And since we are a little bit short on time, there we go. I'm just going to go to the grades area. Now, this is a test course, so any grades you see aren't going to be a FERPA issue. But I do want to point out a couple things. Obviously, you can enter grades right from here. The next thing I want to go over is the Speedgrader, and I can show you how to get to that to give grades and feedback. But at any point in time, if you want to give a grade, you just click on here and you can enter the grade. One thing that makes it kind of difficult in Canvas is the menu dots in each column are hidden. You actually have to hover over a menu, a column heading to see it. But the menu is full of a lot of important things like Speedgrader and message students who. Message students who, if you're not aware of it, allows you to message students based on scores they have or what the grade book says. So if you have a class of 30 and you want to quickly send out a message like, hey, you 6 students haven't turned your work in yet or haven't submitted it yet, you can do that using the message students who. Okay, these will send individualized message to the students. So it's not like, hey, you're sending it to 7 students and they're all going to see like who else didn't turn it in or who else didn't do it. They get their own individual carbon copy of it and aren't able to see. So I guess the BCC is what we'll call it. So any of these headers have actual menus in them, and you can go to them for different items related to those columns. In addition, it makes it very easy for you to search different items within the gradebook. Sometimes in the gradebook, I'll have this accidentally set to like week 1, and I'll wonder like why I don't have hardly anything in my gradebook. And I realize, oh, I'm in week 1 and not all modules, because you can view it by just your modules, which can be helpful. In addition, you can also set late policies, so you can have it automatically deduct points if things are late or missing. You can also do a grade posting policy, which allows you to post grades and then release them to the students, meaning you can enter grades in the grade book, and then when you're ready for your students to see that particular grade, you can post those grades. Okay. Speaking of the Speedgrader, that is a great place for you to go to give feedback. To get to the Speedgrader, you can either go to the individual assignment area, and you can see that there's a link to the Speedgrader, or within the gradebook, you can click on the menu dots and go to Speedgrader, or you can go to the individual grade and you can go to Speedgrader. Now, when we open up Speedgrader, there's a couple things. It's going to display any submissions that the students have turned in, and it will display pretty much any file, unless you're Heather Wesp and you have issues early on in the term with Speedgrader not displaying things. But I think it's starting to work a little better, hopefully, for you, Heather. But in addition to that, it will put labels in case something is missing. Now, maybe the student, yep, says Heather, maybe the student turned something in on paper. Canvas says you didn't submit something, so it's missing. You can always change that to none if you wanted to, and that label will go away. You can just enter the grade here, or if you're scoring with a rubric, that is here for you to fill out for the student if you'd like to. Save it, and it will give the student a grade. You can always go in and override that. In addition to that, you can give feedback, and you can give feedback via text. You can give feedback via emojis. You can give feedback via audio, video, or you can attach, you can attach a file. Now, the real cool thing about the feedback is there's actually a feedback library as well. Now, this library is available to you as an instructor across all of your courses, and you can add feedback. Okay, that's a pretty basic one. And we can add that to the library, okay? And so there's also this toggle that allows you to show suggestions while you're typing. So you can see you put in a lot of work here, excellent points. If I go back there and I get rid of that emoji, you put in and it should, there we go, automatically pop that up so I don't have to type in that whole thing. Not that you're a bunch of lazy instructors or anything like that, but it just helps you to kind of streamline it because I'm sure that you're giving a lot of feedback and doing a lot of grading. So to move through the different students, you can go through your list here and you can see who's turned what in. You can see who you've already given feedback or a grade to. But I like to make things even easier on yourselves. And you can actually take in any ungraded submitted work and sort your list. And this is pretty cool. If you go to the menu, the settings here, and go to options, you can sort your list by submission status and hit save. And it will actually, once it reloads, any newly submitted items will show up at the top here. So if you have like a cross-listed course of like 60 students, you don't have to scroll through that list every time to find recently submitted items. It will put them and group them all at the top, which makes it easy for you to get to. So that's the grade book and the Speedgrader in a nutshell. Obviously, there's more intricacies that you could get into, but those are the basics right there. So yeah, I talked about that. Oh, there's one other item that I want, and I've been using this in my class. As long as you have, it's not going to show on this one, of course. As long as you have additional submissions allowed, maybe, you got to give feedback. There should be, and it's not showing here, but there should be allow resubmission or reassign button here. And if you click on that after you give feedback, and if you have it set to allow multiple submissions, you can reassign an item and it'll show up on the student's to-do list again, which is a great, there's no guarantees on anything that students are going to redo it, but it's a great way to encourage students to resubmit an assignment. So just a couple things on Teams, but the first couple items on Teams are actually in Canvas. And that is the team sync, which allows you to create a team based on your Canvas course roster, which is very easy to do. So if we pop on into the course and go to settings, you'll see a tab for integrations. And I already have this one enabled, but you'll just check this on, hit this down arrow and hit sync, and it'll actually create a team based on your course roster. Now, the nice thing about this is students drop or are added, it will be reflected in the team as well. But you might have also seen some additional links on your course navigation here. You'll see that there's a Microsoft Teams classes. Once that's created, of course, it's not going to let me in this one. I'm not going to do that, but it should show your team actually available to you right there. Actually, I'm going to take over on this computer here and share this screen because I know it was this.
You can get to the team page just by going there.
Yep. So if we do the Microsoft Teams classes right there, you can see that it will actually load the team. You can see it up there too. And like Michelle just said, students can go right to your actual team by clicking on that. And there they are right there. Just really an easy way for students to get there. Now there's another one for Microsoft Teams meetings. So any meetings that you have scheduled, students can access them right here. Now, I do want to point this out. If you create your channel meeting on the team side of things, they will not show up here. If you create your channel meeting right here in Canvas, it will show up here and it will also show up in Teams. So that can be a little bit confusing, but just something to be aware of. If you want to start putting this to use in the future, you're going to want to make sure that you establish your teams, not your teams, but your channel, your meeting, there we go, on the Canvas side of things, and it will flow over to the other way. And I think that your recordings will be available here as well, but I'm not sure.
Hey, Kevin.
Yo.
Does that default to the general channel, or if you have multiple channels, can you schedule in different ones?
I think that you can schedule in any one that you want. See?
Okay.
In fact, any one of my teams are here as well, so I have a lot of teams. So yeah, I could just choose this one and pick the channel and go from there and schedule it right from there. Yep, good question. Lastly, I don't have this available, but there is a new OneDrive integration. These are one and the same right here, Office 365 and OneDrive. I prefer the old one right now because unless it has updated recently, the new one does not give you the ability to search for your OneDrive files. You can see that you have access to all of your OneDrive files right here within Canvas, but there's no search feature that I have seen yet. Whereas this one is a little more old-fashioned looking, but it at least allows you to search for your files right from there. Okay, so those are some Teams items that are within Canvas. Teams items that are not related to Canvas, you do have the ability still to bounce back to this. You still do have the ability to create your own teams manually. If you don't want to use the sync, it's fine. You don't have to. You can just go into Teams and create them on your own, okay, just by clicking on Join or Create a Team. Notifications is a big thing within Teams, and you should make sure that your students are aware of this as well. By default, your teams are not set up to notify individuals in the team of anything that's happened, like a post or anything like that. So you should tell those in your class that they should go in and turn on, as you can see, turn on their channel notifications. Now, if it's something where a lot of conversation is taking place, then maybe you don't, and you just say, hey, if you need to get a hold of somebody, tag them, okay? Because a tag, well, Don, you're not in this team, so I don't know why I tried to tag you, but anyone that's in this team, we can tag them, and then they will for sure get a notification. For example, when I'm contacting the service desk in the service desk channel, even though it's in the service desk channel, I'll still start every message that I post with @service desk, just so they get a message. Speaking of posting messages, there's also a ton of cool features right here. You can put GIFs and emojis, and if you want to kind of expand on what you're talking about, you can click on this little icon here, and you can add a title to it as well. So there's some options with that. The Teams chat feature is awesome, and it works great with the mobile device as well in the Teams mobile app. We're constantly using chat in the IT department, and I'm sure that you probably use it in your departments as well. So I know we're kind of running out of time. If there's any questions or anything like that, I know a lot of you have to get to your class. I'm happy to follow up on any questions and any things that you still didn't have answered. But I do appreciate everyone rolling in for this. I pretty much covered everything that I wanted to as far as the basics go. And that is that. So thank you for attending. Our next session, we're going to be talking in October. What was it? I can't even remember the topic right now. My mind has gone blank. Oh, OneNote. We're going to talk class notebook. and how you can use that for meeting minutes and organizing your clubs and working on it within your classes, to assign work and notes and ink digitally, and the list goes on and on. So hopefully everybody can attend that, and we can keep driving technology here at MCC. Have a good one.
Thank you.